On Wednesday evening, Emily stood frozen in her sister's living room, a glass of champagne slipping from her trembling hand. The crystal flute hit the hardwood floor with a sharp crash, scattering golden bubbles across the polished boards. Everyone turned to stare. Her sister Jessica placed one hand on her barely visible baby bump, her face full of triumph. "Mom and Dad have officially transferred the house to me," Jessica said proudly. Emily's parents looked away, pretending to be fascinated by the ceiling. The room spun for Emily. She felt like the ground itself had been stolen from under her feet. Emily's lips parted, her voice shaking as she whispered, "What do you mean transferred? The deed is in my name." Jessica gave a sharp laugh, dismissive and cruel. "Oh, that was just temporary for the paperwork," she replied. Their mother stepped forward nervously, fluttering her hands. "You're still young, Emily. You'll buy another one. Jessica needs stability for the baby." Emily's eyes fell on the mantel where the framed mortgage papers stood. Her mortgage. Her savings. The proof of everything she had worked for now mocked her from across the room. Her father cleared his throat, wearing that condescending look he always gave when she was being difficult. He said calmly, "Now Emily, let's not make a scene. Family helps family." Jessica rubbed her stomach as if she were carrying a crown jewel. "My baby needs a home. You have your apartment." Emily's jaw tightened. That apartment was only supposed to be temporary, a place she held on to until she rented out the house she bought with her own money. "How is this even possible?" she demanded. Her mother quickly raised her glass. "Let's toast to Jessica's new beginning," she cried. Laughter and cheers filled the room, drowning Emily's pain. Emily slipped away from the circle of congratulations, her shoes soaked with spilled champagne. Her hands shook as she pulled her phone from her purse. She texted her cousin Sarah, the only relative who ever took her side. "Something's very wrong. Need help." The reply came instantly, "Meet me tomorrow. Bring whatever paperwork you have." Emily glanced across the room where Jessica accepted hugs and blessings like a queen on her throne. Her parents laughed as though betrayal was a family tradition. Emily clenched her fists. A quiet fire burned inside her. They thought this was the end. They were wrong. Later that night, Emily slipped into her parents' house through the side entrance. The celebration still roared in the living room, laughter floating through the hallways like poison. She checked her watch. 11 minutes before anyone noticed she was gone. The door to her mother's home office creaked as she pushed it open. Moonlight streamed through the blinds, casting prison bar shadows across the antique desk. Heart pounding, she whispered to herself, "Think like a nurse. When patients hide symptoms, we look for evidence." Her eyes scanned the room. If there was proof of fraud, it would be hidden here. Emily slid open the top drawer of the oak filing cabinet. Her fingers brushed across neatly labeled folders. Utilities, insurance, medical, until she found real estate. She pulled out the thick folder, nearly dropping it when voices drifted down the hallway. "Emily's probably just hiding in the bathroom," Jessica said, her tone dripping with mockery. Emily sank to the floor behind the desk, clutching the folder tightly against her chest. When the voices faded, she spread the documents across the carpet, her breath shallow, her hands trembling. Her eyes scanned the papers. Original purchase documents from 20 years ago, recent mortgage statements, every one showing payments made by her. Then her heart stopped. Tucked between the pages was a warranty deed with her name printed clearly as the owner. But behind it lay another paper. A quitclaim deed with what appeared to be her signature, transferring ownership to Jessica. Emily froze. The looping E in the signature was wrong, the tail missing, the strokes uneven. "This isn't mine," she whispered, anger and fear fighting for space in her chest. Her phone trembled in her hand as she photographed each page. The camera flash lit the dark office for a split second. Blinking away the afterimage, Emily flipped to the last document. A letter on attorney letterhead read, "Advise against proceeding with this course of action. Potential fraud implications. Forgery carries significant penalties." Rage throbbed in her temples. Her own family had planned this deception carefully, ignoring even legal warnings. Footsteps echoed again. Emily shoved everything back into the folder, returned it to the cabinet, and slipped out through the side door just as the office light flicked on behind her. The next morning, Emily sat in a corner booth at Denny's, her untouched coffee cooling by her elbow. Across from her, Sarah leaned forward, eyes sharp, while Michael, Sarah's attorney friend, studied the photos on Emily's phone. His expression grew darker with every swipe. "This is textbook fraud," he said firmly. "The signature isn't even close. Did you sign anything giving them permission to transfer the house?" Emily shook her head. "Nothing. Only the original mortgage papers." Sarah excused herself, flashing her county records badge. "Give me an hour," she said, determination hardening her features. While Sarah stepped away to make calls, Michael leaned across the table. "Emily, listen carefully. A quitclaim deed transfers your interest in a property to someone else. But this," he tapped the forged signature on her phone screen, "this is a crime. And we can prove it." Emily's stomach churned. "They're my parents, my sister. How could they do this?" Michael's voice softened. "Because they thought you'd never fight back." At that moment, Sarah returned, face flushed with urgency. "I checked county records," she said. "The foreclosure your parents told you about? It never existed." Emily blinked at Sarah, her voice barely a whisper. "What do you mean it never existed?" Sarah slid into the booth, her tone sharp. "I checked the records going back 3 years. There was no foreclosure notice, no warning, nothing. They lied to you, Emily. They created an entire story to trick you into using your savings." Michael's jaw tightened as he added, "And then they forged documents to steal the property outright. Your mother orchestrated this. Jessica benefits, but the planning, it has her fingerprints all over it." Emily sat frozen, her hands clenched around her cooling coffee cup. "I can't believe this," she whispered. "I emptied my life savings for them. I missed holidays, birthdays, everything just to save enough for my own home." Sarah reached across the table, her voice gentler now. "You're not alone in this. You'll stay with me until we sort this out. My guest room is yours as long as you need." Michael nodded firmly. "I'll file emergency papers today to freeze the property. They won't be able to sell or transfer it again while we fight this." Back at the hospital that afternoon, Emily opened her locker to find her colleague Deborah standing nearby, holding a casserole dish. "The ICU team is behind you," Deborah said simply, pressing the dish into Emily's hands. Emily's phone buzzed before she could reply. A message from her father read, "Your mother is having chest pains from the stress. Is this what you want?" Seconds later, another text arrived, from Jessica. "If you fight this, I'll make sure everyone knows what kind of sister you really are." Emily's knees went weak. The betrayal deepened with every word. That evening, a certified letter slid under Sarah's guest room door. Emily tore it open with shaking hands. The letter was from the family's attorney, accusing her of harassment and threatening a countersuit. She stared at the words until they blurred. When Sarah came in to check on her, Emily whispered, "I still love them. How could they do this to me?" Sarah sat beside her. "Because they thought they could get away with it." Emily lay awake all night, tracing the cracks in the ceiling. By dawn, she sat upright, her nurse's notebook open in her lap. On a clean page, she wrote 3 words. Evidence, strategy, justice. The next week, the hospital lobby bustled with its usual Monday chaos. Emily was reviewing a patient chart when Deborah tapped her shoulder. "Emily," she whispered, "your mother and Jessica are downstairs." Security called up. Emily's stomach dropped. She smoothed her scrubs and rode the elevator down. As the doors opened, she saw her mother dabbing theatrical tears with a tissue. Jessica stood beside her, one hand on her belly, the other clutching an oversized purse. Visitors turned to watch. "Why are you tearing our family apart?" her mother wailed across the lobby. Emily walked forward with measured steps, her face calm though her heart pounded. "This isn't the place," she said quietly. Jessica stepped forward, her expression twisted with false distress. "The stress could harm the baby, Emily. Is that what you want?" Emily's jaw clenched. Carl from security moved closer, his eyes wary. "We wouldn't be here if you'd answer our calls," her mother snapped, her tears slipping into anger. Curious eyes followed every word. Emily kept her voice firm. "You need to leave." But her mother's fingers shot out, gripping Emily's wrist. "Not until you drop this nonsense," she hissed. Carl stepped between them. "Ladies, you'll have to go. This is a hospital, not a courtroom." Jessica burst into loud sobs. "She's trying to steal my baby's home." The absurdity nearly made Emily laugh, but she stayed silent as Carl guided them toward the exit. Her mother's voice carried until the doors closed. How could you be so selfish, Emily? Your sister needs that house. Whispers rippled through the lobby. Emily stood frozen, shame burning her skin. Nurse Wilson touched her elbow gently. Dr. Wilson wants to see you, she said. I'll cover your patients. The walk to the director's office felt endless. Colleagues averted their eyes or offered sympathetic glances as she passed. Inside, Dr. Wilson's weathered face showed concern, not anger. Sit down, Emily, he said softly. You've been with us 11 years. Your family here. Emily's composure cracked. Tears slid down her cheeks as she poured out the story. Her savings, the forged documents, the betrayal. Dr. Wilson listened without interruption. When she finished, he leaned forward. Take emergency leave with pay. I'll cover your shifts. Take care of yourself first. The ICU will still be here when you're ready. For the first time in weeks, Emily felt lighter. Back at the nurse's station, Deborah met her with a stack of messages. Michael filed a temporary restraining order today, she said. And Sarah is organizing the documents for court. Emily's throat tightened. You didn't have to, Deborah interrupted gently. We protect our own. That evening, Emily returned to Sarah's apartment. Her parents were waiting outside her door, faces drawn and tired. Your mother hasn't slept in days, her father pleaded. Emily stared at them coldly. I know there was no foreclosure. I have the original documents. The silence that followed was heavy as stone. Her father's shoulders sagged. Jessica said it was just paperwork. That you'd understand. Don't you dare blame Jessica, her mother snapped, though her voice wavered. Emily met their eyes. I'll see you in court. She stepped around them and closed her apartment door with a quiet click. Her phone buzzed almost immediately. A message from Michael lit the screen. Court approved the restraining order. They can't touch the property now. A second message followed. Sarah found something. Your notary was Jessica's college friend. Emily exhaled slowly. With every new piece of evidence, the truth was unraveling. That evening, Emily sat on Sarah's couch, staring at the messages on her phone. Michael's words echoed in her mind. Forgery, fraud, criminal charges. Her chest tightened. I don't want their money, she murmured to Sarah. I just want my house back. Sarah placed a steady hand on her shoulder. Then that's what we'll fight for. Later, Emily walked into Sarah's garden. A box of old family photos opened beside her. She traced a picture of Christmas morning years ago, their faces bright with smiles that now felt like lies. Sarah found her there. You're allowed to grieve the family you thought you had, she said softly. The next morning, Emily met Michael at his office. His desk was stacked with files, each carefully labeled. We'll argue civil theft, he explained. If we win, they'll owe treble damages, triple the amount they took. Emily shook her head. I don't care about damages. I care about the house. Michael adjusted his glasses. Then we'll keep it simple. Evidence, testimony, and exposure. Emily nodded, determination hardening inside her. They don't get to steal my future. Michael smiled faintly. Then let's prepare for battle. That evening, Emily's phone buzzed with an unknown number. She hesitated before answering. Emily? It's Tom. Jessica's boyfriend's voice sounded hesitant. Sarah raised her eyebrows from across the room as Emily put the call on speaker. I didn't know what they did to you, Tom continued. I was there when your mother and Jessica discussed the forged documents. I can't be part of this anymore. Emily's breath caught. You'd testify to that? Tom's voice steadied. Yes. I'll tell the court everything I saw and heard. By Thursday, Emily stood in the courthouse lobby with Michael at her side. The marble columns loomed above, intimidating and cold. Her ICU badge still hung from her blouse, a reminder of who she was outside this nightmare. Ready? Michael asked, holding his briefcase like a shield. Emily nodded, spine straight. Inside courtroom 3, Jessica sat in the front row, her pregnancy now unmistakable. Her mother dabbed tears dramatically while her father stared ahead with a stone face. Emily swallowed hard but kept her chin lifted. The judge peered over her reading glasses. Sullivan versus Sullivan, property dispute involving alleged document falsification. Michael moved with calm precision, laying out papers like surgical instruments. Your Honor, he said, We have evidence of signature forgery, notary fraud, and deliberate misrepresentation. The judge examined the documents, her brows arching as she compared the genuine signature to the clumsy forgery. "And you are the sole mortgage holder?" she asked Emily. Emily's voice was steady. "Yes, Your Honor. I provided the entire down payment and signed for the mortgage alone." Jessica's attorney, a slick man in an expensive suit, stood quickly. "Miss Sullivan clearly intended this as a gift to her family. Her sister is expecting a child." The judge's voice cut sharp. "Pregnancy doesn't entitle anyone to commit fraud, Mr. Blackwell." His jaw tightened. "My client was unaware of irregular documentation." Emily remained calm, though her pulse hammered. "This isn't about my niece or nephew," she said softly. "It's about a scheme to steal my life savings." The judge nodded. "We'll continue with evidence." 2 hours later, Emily and Michael exited the courthouse with an extended restraining order and a trial date. It wasn't victory yet, but it was progress. That night Sarah called, her voice tense. "Emily, check Facebook. Your mother's gone public." Emily opened her phone. A long post showed her mother crying into the camera, pleading about her selfish daughter stealing a pregnant sister's home. An old family photo was attached. Jessica cradled lovingly, Emily standing slightly apart. Emily whispered, "She's always known how to play the victim." By morning the local paper ran the story. "Pregnant woman forced from family home by sister." Jessica posed in the photo, her belly highlighted under a soft dress. Emily's stomach twisted. But within hours something shifted. Tom commented on the post, "The truth isn't being told here." Soon after, Sarah uploaded county records proving there was no foreclosure. Dr. Wilson posted about Emily's years of service in the ICU, including holidays she worked so others could be with their families. "The community is listening," Michael said during their strategy call. The hospital itself issued a statement of support for Emily. Her neighborhood association contacted her, concerned about property values if fraudulent transfers were allowed to stand. At the second hearing, the bank officer testified firmly. Emily Sullivan was the sole applicant and mortgage holder. Jessica's friend, the notary, broke down on the stand, admitting she stamped the documents without witnessing any signatures. During recess, Emily's father approached her, his shoulders slumped. "Your mother went too far," he whispered. "I should have stopped it." For the first time, Emily saw weakness, not malice, in his eyes. In the courthouse lobby, Jessica and Tom argued in hushed but heated tones. When Jessica grabbed his arm, he pulled away sharply and stormed off. Emily watched as the cracks in her family widened. Her mother stopped appearing at hearings altogether, sending only her attorney. Jessica eventually hired separate legal counsel from her parents, their once united front unraveling under the weight of exposed lies. Michael leaned close one afternoon, his voice steady. "The judge's preliminary ruling favors you. They have no legal standing. The house is yours." Relief washed over Emily, but it was laced with sadness too deep to name. That evening, Emily washed her hands at the hospital sink when her phone buzzed. A new message lit the screen. "We need to talk alone." It was from Jessica. Emily stared at the words, water dripping from her fingers. The old Emily would have rushed to meet her sister, desperate for peace. The new Emily dried her hands slowly, her movements calm and deliberate. She would not walk into another trap. Instead she set the phone down and whispered to herself, "Not on their terms. Not anymore." The following morning, pounding echoed through her apartment door. 3 sharp knocks, a pause, then 2 more, her mother's signature rhythm. "Emmy, open up. We need to talk." Emily set her coffee mug aside and breathed deeply, the way Dr. Wilson had taught her. When she opened the door, her parents and Jessica surged forward. Jessica clutched her belly like a shield. Her father's eyes pleaded silently while her mother's mascara ran in dramatic streaks. Emily kept her voice calm. "The neighbors are watching." "Good," her mother cried. "They should see what you're doing to us." They spread across Emily's small living room like soldiers positioning for battle. Her mother took the spot by the window where sunlight made her tears shine. Jessica sat on the couch, hands resting on her stomach. Her father stood near the door, arms crossed. "Your father might lose his job over this," her mother announced. "His boss is friends with our attorney." Jessica added quickly, Everyone at the hospital is talking about you. If you drag this through court, nobody wins. Emily listened without flinching. Their threats rolled over her like weak waves against stone. Would you like some coffee? Emily asked suddenly. The question threw them off balance. Jessica snapped, We didn't come for coffee. Emily moved calmly to the desk in the corner. A manila folder waited there. I know why you came, she said, placing it on the coffee table with deliberate care. But before you speak, you should know what I have. She pulled out the documents one by one. The original deed with her signature, the forged deed with the fake one, the handwriting analysis, and her bank statements. Her mother's face drained of color. County records came next, proving no foreclosure had ever existed. Then a statement from the notary admitting fraud. Emily placed them in a neat row, her voice steady. And finally, she said, laying down the affidavit, Tom's sworn testimony describing every detail of your plan. Jessica's phone buzzed at that exact moment. She fumbled with it, her face paling. Tom says the police just left, she whispered. They're asking questions about the notary. Panic flickered in her voice. He's leaving me. He says he can't trust me. Her mother's composure cracked. What have you done? She demanded, her voice sharp now, no tears left. Emily stood tall. What have you done? You didn't just steal my house. You stole my trust. Her father's voice trembled. This could mean criminal charges, jail time. Jessica's eyes widened. Mom, you said it would be okay. Emily turned away from their panic, her movements calm. She walked to her bedroom and returned with a document sealed with the court's stamp. She laid it on the table. This is a settlement agreement. Sign it and I won't push criminal charges. Her father read aloud, voice faltering. Full restoration of property ownership to Emily Sullivan. Payment of all legal fees. 90-day no-contact provision. Jessica whispered, But where will we live? Emily met her gaze. The same place you lived before you tried to steal from me. Silence filled the room. Her father signed first, his hands trembling. Jessica followed reluctantly. Finally, her mother scrawled her name in sharp, angry strokes. The sound of the pen scratching across the paper felt like the closing of a door. When they left, Emily's apartment felt suddenly vast, the silence heavy with finality. Only then did her hands begin to shake, delayed adrenaline rushing through her veins. Her phone rang. Michael's voice came warm and steady. Congratulations. The house is officially yours again. Emily stared at the signed settlement on her table. Relief washed over her, but joy did not follow. Sarah arrived minutes later carrying a bottle of wine. She set 2 glasses down and hugged Emily tightly. Because winning doesn't heal betrayal, she whispered. But healing will come. Weeks later, Emily walked through the house one final time with the realtor. Sunlight streamed across the hardwood floors, but no comfort touched her heart. I never intended to live here, she explained quietly. It was never really mine. The closing price was enough to clear the mortgage and recover her savings. The realtor's eyes softened. Sometimes the best investment is in peace of mind. Emily signed the papers without hesitation. She was done with Ghost. 3 months later, Emily sat at the table of a charming 2-bedroom cottage with a wraparound porch and maple trees shading the yard. The attorney slid the mortgage papers across. Congratulations, Miss Sullivan, he said. Emily's signature was steady this time. Thank you, she replied, her voice firm. This house wasn't about sacrifice or manipulation. It was hers alone. No hidden strings, no false promises. 2 weeks later, laughter filled Emily's new living room. Sarah raised her glass. To Emily, who taught us what courage looks like. Around the room, colleagues and friends cheered. Dr. Wilson handed her a carefully wrapped gift, an antique brass nursing lamp. A reminder, he said, that healing others begins with healing yourself. Emily blinked back tears as she placed it on the mantel. This celebration was small, but it was real, filled with people who chose to stand by her. Later that evening, Amanda, the new ICU nurse, helped clear plates. She hesitated, then admitted, My parents wanted me to go to law school. They think nursing is a waste. Sometimes I feel like I'm letting them down. Emily smiled gently. Your worth isn't measured by their approval. Trust the work that calls to you. Amanda's eyes widened. I never thought of it that way. Emily recognized the familiar weight in her words. seeking love where it would never be given. When the last guest left, Emily carried a tray of seedlings to her backyard garden. She knelt in the soft earth, planting roots for flowers that would return each year. The setting sun painted the sky in amber and gold. As she worked, the mail arrived. A small envelope bore Jessica's handwriting. Inside were photos of a newborn, pink-cheeked and innocent. Emily whispered, "Hello, little one." No resentment stirred in her heart. The child was blameless, untouched by the sins of adults. The next morning, Emily hung a small embroidered sign by her front door. "Family is earned, not given." Around it she began a gallery wall. Photos of Sarah laughing by the lake, Michael grinning after their court victory, hospital staff gathered at Christmas. Among the frames she left one empty, a note attached, "For whatever comes next." She stepped back, the golden light of morning spilling over her shoulders, warming her skin like a quiet blessing. Emily stood in her doorway, silhouetted against the glow of her new home. Her shoulders were lighter now, carrying only her own burdens. She whispered words meant for herself in the walls that now sheltered her. "Finally, truly mine." For the first time in years she felt whole, not because justice had been served but because she had chosen herself. Moral lesson. True family is not defined by blood, but by honesty, respect, and love. When betrayal comes from those closest to us, the greatest act of strength is setting boundaries and choosing peace over pain.